welcome to the Pig and Whistle Tales from Azeroth. As always, here at the Pig and Whistle Inn in Stormwind, I go for a variety of subjects with regards to World of Warcraft. So grab a bottle or a pint, sit back and enjoy. This midweek episode we'll be going over the Rate My Dungeon series, and we're going to be looking at the two dungeons that are in the very north of Storm Peaks. We'll be looking at Halls of Lightning and Halls of Stone. One of these is good, one of these is bad. You can definitely have a guess as to which one is bad, but I think most people will know. So let's start off with Halls of Lightning. We have 4 bosses. This is for both normal and heroic. The mythic mechanic is, or not the mythic, the heroic plus version is the same for both of these dungeons, and that is essentially when you are near an enemy or in combat with an enemy, you get a stacking buff. And this buff increases your damage for each stack by 1%. When you hit 100 stacks, you basically gain a massive damage increase because you get the 4 keepers from Ulduar. So you get damage increase, you get infinite mana, multiple things. You get about 140% of your damage increase baseline. Essentially, this encourages people to chain pull mobs, and this shows how good your tank is, how comfortable your tank is, and etc. But essentially, the mechanic is very fun in both Halls of Stone and Halls of Lightning, as it is the same mechanic. Halls of Lightning, it's fun and simple, the layout. It's quite linear, but at the same time, there's a few nooks and crannies all around. You can take a couple different paths. You can go left or right at the start, and then you can go left or right in the final sort of room. They don't really change anything. They have the same mobs and stuff, but it is very much dependent on the party, I guess. The gear is actually very good in Halls of Lightning. It is one of the very first dungeons that you will go into near max level, and it will be giving you very good max level gear to start or kickstart your character. The heroic versions obviously give Ulduar gear, so will be very, very good themselves. But what makes Halls of Lightning so good is the mobs and the bosses. The bosses are very simple. They're not too sort of annoying, and by annoying, obviously all bosses have mechanics, but you'll kind of understand what I mean when we go to Halls of Stone in terms of an annoying boss. Obviously there was no revamp for Halls of Lightning in Cataclysm. I honestly would say it's one of the best dungeons now that the heroic plus version has kind of been fixed, because the alpha version was awful, but the beta version of the heroic plus is actually a really fun and enjoyable experience compared to the alpha, because it's a bit more clean in terms of the mechanic that they used. Halls of Stone is still 4 bosses on both heroic and normal. Only 2 of these can be done. Yeah, you can have 2 of these bosses done. Every single boss in Halls of Lightning has to be done in order to get to the next one, I believe. Yeah, I believe. Halls of Stone, you can just do 1 boss and then go to the final boss. It's a decent layout. You kind of get to a intersection and you can go straight ahead, left and right. If you go left, that's towards the boss that you need in order to activate the final boss. But if you go into the other 2 paths, you obviously have 2 optional bosses there. The gear, honestly, in the dungeon is not worth it. It's not worth the dungeon itself. Which is a bit weird, because you'd always think dungeons obviously house decent gear and decent bits and pieces for any sort of class, but people don't enjoy this dungeon for the most part. People will get it done and they'll do skip runs, so they'll skip the 2 optional bosses and go for the 2 bosses that you have to kill. But essentially, the reason why people don't like this is because of that boss that gatekeeps the final boss. So the final, or the second to last boss, we'll call it, essentially you talk to Bran and it is a ad fight. You stand there for 5 minutes, you check your phone, you go on TikTok, you watch a YouTube video. It's really not interesting. It's 5 minutes of very weak ads spawning, you killing them, and then occasionally you have to move to the left or right because there's an I-beam that is beaming you down from behind you. It's really not engaging. It's 5 minutes of doing nothing, and it's so annoying. They need to change this, I think, to make Halls of Stone a little bit more interesting, but I don't think you can without, the spaghetti code sort of breaking the game, because after that boss is done, Bran does some dialogue, and you talk to Bran, and he's the one essentially that opens the door for you to the final boss. Hopefully in the future, this can just be a skip, and he'll just be there, automatically, but that would make for a ridiculously short dungeon. That would make for a dungeon that has 5 packs, potentially 5 packs of mobs and then a boss. That would be the shortest dungeon known to World of Warcraft history. Yes, I believe it would be. I'm trying to think if there's a smaller one, but I don't believe so. So I don't know how they can really do it. The spaghetti code wouldn't allow it probably, but the gear is not worth the sort of standing there for 5 minutes, doing nothing, twiddling your thumbs, throwing a pen across the room, doing whatever to keep your mind occupied. So this one, I have to give it a 4. It's just not engaging at all. You know what? Actually, I'm looking at this. I'm going to go even lower. I'm going to go with a 3. It's just not fun. Blackrock Depths, I gave a 4 out of 10, but at least Blackrock Depths was a massive dungeon, whereas this one, you're standing around 5 minutes doing nothing. So I've got to go lower. So it's got to be a 3 out of 10 for Halls of Stone. Compared to its counterpart, Halls of Lightning, I would give an actual solid 8 out of 10. The mobs in there are fun. You can AoE pull everything. The mobs in Halls of Stone, you can pull, big pulls, but they're a bit more tedious. Some of the constructs self-destruct. They charge people who are far away. Kind of the tedious shit that everything does. But yeah, I'd definitely say 8 out of 10 for Halls of Lightning and 4 out of 10 for Halls of Stone. They're not... They weren't the best in the first sort of couple phases of Wrath of the Lich King, but with the latest beta Heroic Plus change, I think they are one of the most enjoyed and enjoyable dungeons in the game. But that is it for this episode. Thank you all very much for listening, as always. Do check out the links down below. We have Twitch, YouTube, absolutely everything down there. Please consider supporting the channel. It would be a massive help for Pig and Whistle, and it would help me get out some more content for you guys. But thank you all very much once again, and go with Valor, friend. Goodbye all.